folks, welcome to the channel, The Agnostic Philosopher. I'm Don. We're taking a look at something that I don't know much about. Now, among other things, I'm also a yoga teacher. I got into yoga about 20 years ago and then became a teacher. So I understand the importance of breath, but we're looking at the neuroscience of breath. Now, this is something I don't know about. So I love venturing into new areas and just learning. I mean, that's basically philosophers like doing that. Most of us are philosophers, but some of us, I suppose, are more open-minded and less dogmatic than others, shall we say? Well, let's take a look and see what she's got to say about the neuroscience of breath. Here we go.
Have you ever noticed how your breathing changes when you're stressed? Maybe it becomes shallow and quick, or perhaps you even hold your breath without realizing it. What if I told you that understanding and controlling your breath could be one of the most powerful tools for managing your emotions?
Yeah.
Today, we're going to look at the science behind how breathing influences your brain and your emotional state. I'm Dr. Tracy Marks, a psychiatrist, and I make mental health education videos to help you strengthen your mind, fortify your brain, and build resilience. In our last video, we talked.
Okay, so she's not a neuroscientist, but she's a psychiatrist, so they have to study a lot, because if you're going to prescribe meds, you've got to understand how they interact with the human body. Okay.
Talked about moving from reactivity to resilience. Today, we're diving deep into an effective tool for emotional regulation, your breath. Let's start by understanding what's happening in your body when you breathe. Your autonomic nervous system has two main branches: the sympathetic system, which handles your fight or flight response, and the parasympathetic system, often called the rest and digest system. Think of these as your body's gas pedal and brake. And at the center of this system is the vagus nerve, which acts like an information superhighway between your brain and your body. When you take slow, controlled breaths, you're essentially sending calming signals up this nerve to your brain. On a neurochemical level, this helps regulate stress hormones like cortisol and also increases GABA, which is a neurotransmitter that promotes calmness. This is why deep breathing can almost instantly make you feel more relaxed. Let's look at 4 key ways that controlled breathing.
I know, and all human beings know this on a certain level, that when you're talking with somebody and they're like panicking or they're freaking out, it's instinctual to say, okay, just take a deep breath. Take a deep breath, calm down. And sometimes people may think that taking that deep breath is doing something different than freaking out, for example, and that's the benefit. And that's partly true, because you're interrupting sort of the flow of emotion and thought momentarily just to get their mind on something else. But it actually has physiological advantages. And I don't know where she's going to go with this, but I'm fascinated.
Breathing affects your brain and body. First, emotion regulation. When you breathe slowly and deeply, you're actually changing the carbon dioxide levels in your blood. Carbon dioxide plays a vital role in brain function, acting more than just a waste product that we exhale. It influences how excitable neurons are, especially in the amygdala, your brain's emotional alarm system. When carbon dioxide levels drop too low due to rapid, shallow breathing, the neurons in your amygdala become more excitable, making you more prone to anxiety and overreaction. But when you slow your breathing and allow carbon dioxide levels to stabilize, you create a calming effect, reducing the amygdala's reactivity. It's like turning down the volume on your brain's stress response. This effect of low carbon dioxide is one reason why hyperventilation can trigger or worsen panic attacks, and why you sometimes see people breathing into a bag to slow their breathing. You're breathing back in the carbon dioxide and stabilizing your levels. You can get the same effect without the bag, but if your anxiety is already at DEFCON level 10, you're not going to have the control that you need to shift to slowed breathing. So the bag helps increase your carbon dioxide levels faster. Second thing controlled breathing affects is cognitive function. Controlled breathing increases oxygen delivery to your prefrontal cortex. That's the part of the brain responsible for decision-making and focus. So when you're breathing properly, you're feeding your brain what it needs to think more clearly. Third, body awareness. Focused breathing enhances what we call interoception, your ability to sense what's going on inside your body. This increased body awareness can help reduce feelings of anxiety and
Yoga.
dissociation, grounding you in the present moment. And the fourth way controlled breathing affects your body is a stress reset. Deep diaphragmatic breathing has been shown to increase the rate at which your body clears cortisol, the primary stress hormone. So you're not just
Mm.
feeling calmer, you're actually resetting your body's stress response. One measure of how well your nervous system is functioning is something called heart rate variability. Despite how it might sound, having a high variation in your heartbeat is actually good. It shows that your system is flexible and responsive. Slow, controlled breathing has been shown to improve heart rate variability, which means better emotional regulation and stress resilience. Now let's talk about specific breathing techniques that can help you take control of your emotions. I'm going to share 3 evidence-based methods, each with its own benefits. First is box breathing, also known as square breathing.
Yep, I teach this in my yoga classes where let's say you inhale for 4 seconds or 4 counts, then you pause for 4 counts, then exhale for 4 counts, pause for 4, then inhale for 4. So everything is a 4 count. There's also rectangular breathing where you might inhale for 6 or 8 counts, pause for 2, exhale for 6 or 8, and then 2. And so it's visually a rectangle.
And here's how it works. Imagine tracing a square with your breath. You inhale for 4 counts, hold for 4,
Yep.
exhale for 4, and hold for 4. A benefit of this technique is it gives you a simple pattern to focus on while activating your parasympathetic nervous system. Navy
Yeah.
SEALs use this technique to stay calm under pressure, and research shows it can reduce stress and improve focus within minutes. The second technique is 4-7-8 breathing. You inhale for 4 counts, hold for 7, and exhale for 8. This
Hmm.
pattern is particularly good for anxiety because the long exhale triggers your relaxation response more strongly than the box breathing pattern.
Yeah.
It's this longer exhale compared to the inhale that has been shown in research to increase parasympathetic activation more effectively than breaths of equal length. The third
Wow.
technique is resonance breathing, also called coherent breathing. This involves breathing at about 6 breaths per minute. That's 5 seconds on the inhale and 5 seconds on the exhale. So it's similar to box breathing in that you have even inhale
No
and exhale, but
pauses.
you don't have pauses with this. This pattern optimizes your heart rate variability that I mentioned earlier and helps synchronize your breathing with your heart rhythm. This improves emotional stability over time. It's like finding your body's
Yep.
natural relaxation sweet spot. These breathing
When I teach yoga too, and I tell my students, I'll do certain things during the class that increase the heart rate. And one of the things in yoga is that you want to maintain steady breath throughout the class, but when your heart rate is up, your tendency to move in and out of the postures more quickly increases. And that's where awareness comes into play, that you've got to be aware of how you're moving. Like if we're in downward facing dog and we're doing an alternate calf stretch, which is when you raise raise one heel and lower the other, and then raise the other heel and lower the other, back and forth. They'll also call it at times like bicycling, but it's alternate calf stretch. The tendency when your heart rate is up is to move more quickly. And you want to counter that by purposely being aware of how you're moving and moving more slowly. But the way you control that is always by being mindful of your breath, the deep inhalations and deep exhalations. And if you're comfortable doing it, inhale through the nose and exhale through the nose. And if you need to take a quick gasp or do a quick exhalation because it's a bit much, then you inhale or exhale through the mouth because you can get more oxygen in by this way than this way. It's more restricted through the nasal passages. So but the idea too, like even in wintertime, if you like to walk or run, is that if you can breathe in through the nose, there's a little bit more time up in the nasal cavity that the oxygen or the air passes through. So it warms it up just a little bit more. So when it hits your lungs, it's not this really cold breath. The coldest I did my yoga practice this year outdoors, because I do it outdoors even through the winter, was 14 degrees. And I bundle up. I don't do it in bare feet the way I do in the summertime. But it feels really, really good. And the deep in through the nose, out through the nose, and releasing the tension in your face is huge.
Patterns don't just affect your emotions, they also impact your cognitive function. When you're stressed, shallow breathing reduces oxygen flow to your brain, which can impair your focus, memory, and decision making. But controlled breathing, especially techniques that emphasize slow exhalation, enhance prefrontal cortex activity. So, when you take a deep breath before responding to a stressful situation, you're giving your brain the oxygen it needs to make a better decision. So, when should you use these different techniques? Use box breathing when you need to focus or stay calm under pressure, like before a presentation or during a stressful meeting. The
You can
equal
always do it.
ratios make it easier to remember the practice anywhere. Try the 4-7-8 breathing technique when you're feeling anxious or need to calm down quickly. The extended exhale.
I'll simplify. You could do the box breathing anytime. There is not a huge difference in the way these two will manifest, but the big part of when you're panicking, you feel like you've lost control. When you're controlling your breath, you're regaining control in a small area. So I would differ slightly in the rationale. They're not mutually exclusive by any stretch. It's whether it's an illusion of control or not, but it still brings it back to you're interrupting what you're freaking out about, and you're actually gaining control over something, and that is your own breath. And it is a very real dynamic where it does alter what you're focused on in the moment. Instead of focused on the fear-producing aspect out there in the environment, whether it's at work or your kids or family or automobiles, whatever, now you're like, you have some control and you're shifting your focus away from the adrenalizing elements out there in the world.
Makes this really effective for reducing anxiety. But if you're new to breath work, start with the box breathing first, as holding your breath for 7
Right,
counts may feel too uncomfortable, and this isn't something that should feel like a struggle. Practice resonance breathing when you have a
right.
few
Good
minutes to
point.
reset your system, maybe during your morning routine or when transitioning between work and home life. This technique is great for building long-term stress resilience. So, here are some common mistakes to avoid when practicing these techniques. First, don't force your breath too much. The goal is gentle control, not strain. If you're feeling lightheaded or
Good
uncomfortable,
point.
just return to normal breathing. Second, don't expect instant perfection. Like any skill, breath work takes practice. Start with just a few minutes at a time.
Yes.
Third, don't wait until you're extremely stressed to try these techniques. The best time to practice is when you're relatively calm so that you can build the skill for when you really need it. The best part about breath work.
Yep, it's the equivalent of trying to learn to fly when somebody's chasing you to kill you. It's like you can't learn to fly under those circumstances. You've got to do it under ideal circumstances.
Is that it's always available to you. You don't need any special
Yep.
equipment, you don't have to set aside a lot of time, and you can do it anywhere. A few deep, intentional breaths can shift your entire psychological state in a matter of just seconds. In the next video, we'll look at mindfulness and cognitive techniques to further enhance your emotional resilience. But for now, I encourage you to experiment with breath work and see how it impacts your ability to manage stress in the moment.
Okay. We'll leave it at that. Yeah, I mean, she said it. I like the idea of like looking even deeper into the chemical processes happening within one's body. I know just as somebody who teaches new students, young students, older students, and such, that I can overload them with details, as any teacher can. If you've been doing something for a long time and you know what you're doing, you can overload people with too much detail. So I'm kind of mindful not to do that. So that's why I say, like, even just as far as being aware of your own breath, unless you're really going to dive deep into breath work, squared breathing is fine, or as she said, resonance breathing, where You just do, say, 4 counts on the inhalation and 4 on the exhalation, 4 on the inhalation, or the squared breathing obviously is where you're pausing. And it does shift your focus, and it does have physiological benefits where, like she said, it removes more CO2 from your system. And I want to look into that though, because something doesn't resonate with me. That something strikes me as being off about that contention. But I mean, she went through medical school for this, so she's likely to be right. But I would want to dive deeper into it because your body does have to exhale something, and it rids itself. If you're inhaling a lot more oxygen, it's going to process within your body. But I don't know if it's even. I don't know if it's for every oxygen molecule you get rid of 2 CO2. I don't know. Anyway, all right, guys. Hope you enjoyed that. This is very yogic, which I love that because I teach it, I work with it, and it is very real. And there it is. Have a great day, folks. Leave your comments. I read them. I'll see you on another video, and keep thinking philosophically. Hey, folks. If you want to take the personality test that I created for my life coaching practice, which is based on the book that I wrote, put your phone up, turn it on camera, and focus on this, and it'll take you to it. And it'll take you about 20 minutes to complete the test. It's free, and you'll get some information on your personality. It's quite detailed, quite revealing. It's kind of fun as well. And I'll be leaving this QR code up on the wall behind me for my regular videos. So I hope you take it, and I hope you enjoy it.